All set, Nancy? Okay. Welcome to the October 2nd, 2017 Board of Selectmen's meeting. Please join me in our opening pledge. Just real quick, in response to the horrific events in Las Vegas today that we've all heard about, I just thought it would be really fitting to do a brief moment of silence for the families, the victims, and our public safety that are all going through this tragic event. Thank you. All right, citizen statements and petitions. Do we have any citizen statements or petitions? Seeing none, hearing none. Correspondence to the board. Do we have any correspondence to the board? No. Okay. All right, number 4, consider recommendation from the Police Station Building Committee for the Police Station Building OPM. Mark, you want to make a motion?
I move to appoint Daedalus Projects Incorporated as project manager for the police station building.
I'll step down in a second. Don, you want to come up and join us here? Or, sorry, Joe, I didn't see you sneak in.
Chris, I just snuck in.
How are you today, Joe?
Good, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. So why don't you give us a little overview of your recommendation and
We had 12 different firms that proposed for the OPM work, which was terrific. We got a really good selection. We got high-quality submissions from them. The committee went through them all. At first, we narrowed it down to 7, and then we narrowed it down to the top 3 from that, and then we did the background checks with the assistance of the police department, which really worked out well, and we narrowed it down to 2, Daedalus and Vertex. We did the interviews with them last week that you folks attended, and you saw their presentations, and I think everyone was pretty happy, I think, no matter which firm we had picked. I guess the big point for Daedalus was that Mary is there, who served the same role for us in the library project, and that was successful. So I think we were all pretty comfortable with going with that.
great. And Mary's here.
Mary is here.
And I'd like to introduce Tom also.
Very nice to meet you, Tom, because projects.
Very nice to meet you, Tom. I think we probably just have a couple more questions before we make our take our vote on this. Mark, you had one question you wanted.
Yeah, the one question I have, because this is a little different than the library project, is have you or your firm had experience with CPA funds being involved with projects?
Yes, I have, and I was actually just showing. I have, and I was actually just showing Dawn a spreadsheet that we use in our office to track where the different funds come from and how we would work that. We have the contractor break out the schedule of values to identify the work that is associated with those funds and track it on the Excel sheet so that everything comes out of the right bucket.
Okay.
Okay, good. I think the only other question that I have is, as you know, Mary, this is a very, very tight budget project,
Yep.
just like any other municipality would be. Clearly, we don't want to go back to the well, and I think this building committee's done a fantastic job identifying the budget and identifying the scope of work, et cetera. What steps will your firm employ to make sure that we stay within budget and that we don't have scope creep, et cetera?
So a couple things, if you want to start.
Sure, let's grab the microphone.
I wanted to do background.
Good evening. So prior to coming to Daedalus, I was the Public Safety Commissioner for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Prior to that, I was the town engineer and building official for the town of Belmont. So I've had 22 years in Belmont and then 11 years as commissioner. I totally get working within a budget and keeping to that budget and the full ramifications of that. One of the things that we do at Daedalus, I'm a registered engineer. We also have a registered architect for the firm. one of the key things we do is to go through the plans that have been created by the designers, and Alicia is the architect, I'm the engineer, and we go through them to double-check, I'll call it triple-check, and make sure that things aren't missed, make sure that there isn't going to be that scope creep. And we will also run our, your plans through our estimating department. So not only are you getting the estimate from the designers, but you then get again, the third party, if you will, estimate from our folks who do estimates not only for just our projects, but for multiple projects and multiple architectural and engineering firms. If we weren't the OPM on this project, there's a high likelihood we would have been the project estimator for the architectural firm, as an example.
Okay. And would those estimates be coinciding with the design process? So it's all the way through the design process?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
So, and we'll then sit down with the design team and their estimators and reconcile to make sure that the number is the right number as it moves forward through the design process.
All right, great. Excellent.
Just to add to that, Chris, a couple of things, we got here early and walked the building with Tim to see what ghosts might be there, to see what we needed to open up, to get a good feel of what's there. And then in addition to the estimates, we would add unit prices for things that we to keep the change order cost stable, to get the cost set originally before the contractor finds it.
Perfect. Yeah, we certainly don't want any surprises, so. Kim, what is the process on this? Obviously, we have to take a vote, and then we go into negotiation. Is that how does it go? I don't understand the process, 'cause I read you a letter today, and it said upon successful negotiation, and that just threw me off, so.
There's a fixed fee for this. We put it into the request for
Right.
services, and that was the $186,000. That was the amount that was proposed in the original budget that Castle Booze had done for that. So we've used that figure and carried that through. And Mary's firm knows, and that's what they were talking about last week, that Mary's hours wouldn't be counted against that. The 186 is 186. There's no more coming back to the well for that.
Okay. All right. I just got thrown off by the letter when it said in the negotiation. That's all. So, that's all. All right, so, okay. Cool.
I think, tonight would be considered part of the negotiation process.
Oh, there you go. Okay, all right. I had money in my mind for some reason, but I was negotiating
No,
the
it's
project.
fixed fee on that.
It's the terms of the contract. We now need to just finalize the contract.
Perfect, okay. And you'll just sign off the contract once we do a favorable vote?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. All right, any further discussion, Mark?
No?
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was the first meeting.
Thank you very much.
All right, so Kim, you'll take care of the rest. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Working
you.
with you.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fun, I'm excited, finally. All right, C, consider library roof repair proposals.
Okay. Well, last year, about a year ago, might have even been a year and a half ago, the Historic Commission approved approximately $50,000 to do repairs on the old Taft Library roof. At the time, the estimate was solicited from one firm who does that type of work, but only one estimate was received. So then, 4, 6, 8 months later, trickle over time, 2 more written estimates came in. Both of those essentially were expired by the time we got around. So I spoke to town council about it. They felt that we should follow an RFP process, particularly because the building is historic. We went through the RFP process, we sent it out, we got one proposal back. That proposal is $65,000 higher than the actual budget that we have, and so at this time, I have no recommendation to move forward, but to revisit other options with the roof.
Okay. And can CPA money pay for that? It's a historical building. We did it here.
They did pay for it. They already approved, and we already transferred at town meeting the $50,000.
And they pick up their rest?
They could, assuming that we get more than one estimate in. The problem with anything being municipal or government is that we need more than one.
Right.
And so it's tricky when it's such a specialized project.
And we could repost, right? Couldn't we?
Yes, that's what we'll have to do,
Okay,
so,
all right. Well, I don't think we have a choice.
right. So there's nothing to do there, but to
Okay.
keep getting estimates.
Okay. Very good. All right. So, review of the November 21st STM warrant.
Okay. I have them here. Don't bother. I have some extras.
Did it change since my
Oh,
last?
not since I emailed, that's
This is the one you emailed this morning.
earlier today.
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably the same. I just wrote notes on these so that it might be easier to follow along. So just as a reminder, this is the very first rough draft estimate, where we just begin to talk about what is going to be on that warrant. The official signing of the warrant is at your next meeting on October 16th. The good news is, right now, we have very few articles. So I'll just go through them very quickly. We do have some persons here to speak to some of the articles, and we can have some discussions. One of the first things I'll say before we even get started, this is the time of year when people start asking about free cash, right? We normally, it gets certified within the next month, right, beginning of November. Right now, I've been told to be extremely cautious about the number, and to really estimate no more than $200,000. So we really don't have a lot of room at this point to consider expenditures unless they are absolutely necessary. Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. Article 1 is bills of a prior year. My understanding, I haven't seen the actual, but we only have one bill, and my understanding is it's under $1,000.
Simple.
Right. Article 2 is $10,000 that's being requested by Alan for overtime for the police department.
Alan, you want to talk to us a little bit about this?
Yeah, I'm requesting another $10,000 to be put into the police overtime budget due to the fact of all the construction that we did this past summer to try to take us through to the end of the year. And then keeping in mind, I'm going to have to hopefully have more details when this project gets going to do the downtown district. Right now, I've got about enough for 7 more days of police detail currently.
Is it that we underestimated the amount of construction we had, or did it take longer, or anything like that?
A little of both. We did a lot more than anticipated this year due to the fact that some of the projects, we needed more officers than anticipated, like downtown, and some of the paving projects, I had to have 2 officers on duty. A lot of the work that we've been doing has been on main roads, so I can't get away from having a police detail on them. I try not to use them on some of the back roads, but obviously for safety reasons, we have to have them.
And you think that 10,000 is going to carry you through the rest of the year?
I hope so.
That's encouraging.
I think so. I talked to the chief about it. When we get going up with this project in the spring, hopefully it'll really get going after May. So in the annual budget, I will be looking for more money in the overtime budget at that point.
Mark, you got any questions on this?
No.
Okay,
I have a few questions.
sure.
I really would like to see accounting for, you only have 7,000, what did you say, $7,000 left? I mean, that budget has $20,000 in it as of July 1. So, and the request is for another half a year's worth of police detail. So considering how tight the budget is going to be this year, I'd really rather dole it out project-based or something-based than just sort of guessing. I mean, it's gonna be tight. So it's hard to, I'd like to see an accounting of where the 13 went in 2 months. That would be helpful.
What's that? You want to see
The
what?
13,000 that you've already expensed.
I got it right here.
You don't have to give it to me today.
Yeah,
I
we
just,
just,
I would, when we're trying to figure out where we're, if we have a little tiny pot of money and I'm trying to figure out where it's gonna go, I'd like to not give one more extra dollar than I have to.
Yeah,
if
I can,
figure it
I
out.
have that, I have it all on a spreadsheet. I know who was where, when.
Yep.
all
I would
that.
just, we'll get it ready for when we go to FinCom next week, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I have a little bit different take on it. I don't disagree that we need to know, and Al and I have talked about this some. I'm more concerned going forward that, because this seems to be a chronic problem in the last 2 or 3 years. We've appropriated what seems to be enough money for overtime, for police overtime. And then, for one reason or another, there's not enough in there for police details.
yeah,
And what I wanted to do, as Al and I talked about, was to try to fine tune that number so that up front, we right size it so that we're not coming to a special to try to backfill it because we spent it all already. It's a timing thing with the time of year and where just like you said, the different roads in town. And the idea of getting together with public safety and highway and the FinCom to try to fine tune that number so that this doesn't happen again.
well, which is why the reason I asked the question earlier, how did we get here so quickly, and did we underestimate? That's,
The problem is when you start out with a number that you thought was historically accurate, but you go back in time and each year you have to backfill it.
yeah, I have a,
That's what's going on.
and I have a different, the same perspective, different take, though, is that we know what we're forecasting for capital projects throughout the course of the year, and we can anticipate how long they're gonna take and what resources we need, right? And then you can just extrapolate from there, right, and come up with the value.
Right.
So I think that's what we need to be doing in order to get it right, and that could be a moving target every year. We might not do as many projects next year that require a detail as opposed to this year. So we really have to focus on that so that we don't keep on getting, put into this pickle. Okay,
Okay.
all right, cool. All right, thanks, Alan.
All right, so Article 3 is if we're gonna put money into stabilization, okay? Article 4 is if we're gonna put money into CapEx.
Yep.
Article 5 is money to go back into FinCom reserve, for 25,000? Forget,
Not quite. If I can explain.
Yep.
Earlier in this fiscal year, one of the highway trucks had a failure.
microphone.
Yeah,
All right,
Mike,
Paul.
why don't you come on up for a second so everybody can hear? Thanks. You might as well just stay up for your FinCom articles anyways.
Earlier in the current fiscal year, the highway surveyor came to the FinCom because he had a failure in one of his trucks, and it's the truck that has interchangeable equipment on it between a sander and a flatbed and a dump body, and there was a structural failure where most of the truck is good, but because of a poor design and also just some fatigue, the truck needed a repair. And there were 2 different options, and the most cost-effective option was around 18,000, I think. Is that the quote, Alan?
Well, to replace the whole thing new, the actual mechanism to put the bodies off and on was 23-something. But we did get a quote to repair it, but it was still going to be, he would still have all the mechanism. It was a poor design, from what I understood from the body company.
The point of it is, Mr. Chairman, that at our last FinCom meeting, it was within our prerogative with a a quorum and to have a majority vote to transfer the money so that the repairs could be done now, because we're getting into the season where we need the truck, and it was the only option. So we used FinCom reserve for exactly what it was intended for, to fund this repair. But, you know, we anticipate having $40,000 of FinCom reserve to take us through the year. We've taken a significant amount of that, so all we're looking to do is backfill FinCom reserve
Free cash.
from free cash. Yeah, if,
How much?
I don't have the exact number in front of me. It was
18,000
close to,
and change?
it was somewhere between 18 and 25, depending on which was the cheapest quote.
All right,
I just don't have that number right in front of me.
I'll put 25 down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'm just trying to move along.
No, I know
We've got a lot
you're-
of people waiting.
No, I understand, but, you know, if we're gonna review it, we'll go through it one more time, but,
Right.
$23,460.
okay.
23,460.
I believe.
Okay. OPEB, if we have any money to put anything there. Article 7 looks like a request to replace the salt shed roof, either with regular shingles or with 50-year shingles.
I have an update.
Okay, we can make it quick, but we can talk
Yeah,
about,
it's fine.
come on up. Yeah, come on.
All right, originally, when I got these quotes, I just made a few phone calls, but I made some more phone calls today. Obviously, we're gonna have to go out to bid. So to replace the salt shed roof, I estimated $17,000, when in fact it is $18,900 to do it with a 50-year shingle. There's a little bit of room in there for, to replace some rotted wood. We've already replaced plywood on that roof, we've replaced, repaired some of the trusses, but we don't know how much farther it's gonna go. But the roof is definitely leaking, so that's for the 50-year shingle. And then I call this other company, that is between, $4 and $5 a square foot for your standard shingle, and to replace it with metal is, $12 to $14 per square foot. So at the $12 price, it's $48,000. At the $14 price, it's $56,000. It's 4,000 square feet roughly. And I have a 10% contingent figure in there for if it's worse than anticipated. It's really hard to tell until you strip it or get into this type of project.
Okay, so I'm just confused, you just confused the heck out of me. I see 17,000 for the 50-year shingles, and then I see 32 to 36 to replace, and I just heard 50,
That's what he's saying. It's actually 58 to 45 to 56, not 32 to 36.
Right.
48 to 56.
That's a metal roof.
And you said one other thing that concerned me, and that was that you're not sure about
I did put a 10% contingent in there.
to take it, listen, if we're gonna spend money on this, I don't want you to come back and say that the rafters are failing or
Right, no.
whatever else. You know, you're gonna fix it, you're gonna fix it once.
You know, from talking with the people on the phone, again, I did not advertise this to go out to bid. This was just a telephone
Yeah.
quote that I got from one local contractor, and then I called a metal roofing company out of Walpole for the other one.
What concerns me about this, and I'm just gonna throw this out there, Kim, is that, and I wanna know exactly what this job is. I don't wanna guess on this job, and I don't wanna throw a bunch of money at it, and then all of a sudden be going back again to throw even more money at it because we didn't capture it all in the first place. I'd rather, if we can, take a quick look at it, see if we can repair the leak, you know, for the winter, and look at this thing and then stick it on a CapEx project. I think that's the right way to do it, personally. But,
Okay, I mean, we've been repairing it for the past 6 years. The shingles are so brittle now that every time you go up there to fix one,
Yeah.
you break 3.
Yeah. What aggravates me is we just went through an ATM. This is something that should have been on the ATM.
So I was gonna say that, it was, and it was listed, it was submitted with our capital requests. It was prioritized as a number one for replacement if we had the money available. The only thing we actually ended up replacing was the windows, that's all we could afford. This was next in line, the roof, if money was available. So was prioritized,
So we could do this as a CapEx project.
as long as it's over $25,000. But we can talk about the funding sources once
Yeah.
they're on.
I just want to make
Right.
sure that we do this once. Yeah, please.
And again, we're revisiting a discussion that we had last budget season, and the discussion is to constantly, not really waste, but spend small amounts of money by small, death of a thousand cuts, fixing this salt shed over and over again versus taking the money out of CapEx to design and build a salt shed that we're going to need for now into the next 50 years in this town. Because, Alan, unless I'm mistaken, the salt shed you have, even if you fix the leak, it's still not big enough for what you need, right? For all the roads in town?
Right.
And while we're talking about it, I really would like to have you get a quote, or get 3 quotes to actually have one built, and maybe even see, I don't know what Valley Tech could do, but even if they could do some of it, I know it's a high, big building, so maybe they couldn't, but to just see what it would cost to actually build a new salt shed somewhere on the property, while you still have the one that can function for at least this winter, and get it built and replaced so that we can put it on the CapEx and replace it, finally. And then we wouldn't have to be spending money every year or two patching a roof or fixing rafters that are rotted and just spending good money after bad.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of, is we're not doing it right.
We're gonna go through this season with it now. We're gonna go through it right now. I was planning on this project to be next construction season.
Well, that being said, then we could hold it off till next ATM, can't we?
That's fine.
Does that make sense?
Is there anything you have to do to it right now to get through this season?
Can we go get
Really
some
not
Flex
much you
Seal?
can do to fix it, unless you wanna put a top on it.
Can we put Flex Seal on it?
Yeah, get that, yeah,
That stuff is awesome.
Billy Ray or whatever his name is.
That stuff is unbelievable. They float boats with that stuff.
I'll put the ladder up.
We'll spray it up there. I'll go up there and spray it.
But can you reach out and get some quotes to just build a new one the right size of what you need?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
All right,
excellent.
perfect. All right, stay there. Don't go anywhere. All right, next is the Article 8. Go ahead.
This is $70,000 to purchase a new Ford F-450 dump truck and plow. This was also submitted as part of the budget process, but it was prioritized as a 4, which was the lowest at the time. It replaces a 99.
And we had said, I think at the time, that we had asked the question if we could make it through another year.
Right.
And at the time, we could.
Won't pass inspection anymore, will not. It's got a wooden floor in it. Yeah. You gotta put heavy shoes on when you're driving it, that's,
So-
I mean, it breaks.
Even if it passed an STM on the 21st of November, how long would it take you to acquire this thing?
I did not ask that question.
Right, because that's a big determination, that's a big factor here. Are we gonna be using it this winter, or are we using it next winter? Because if we're using it next winter, we can wait.
We use this truck for everything, it's the go-to truck.
But can you use it right now?
We're using it right now. The thing is, I was trying to avoid there are some things that need to be fixed in it. I was holding off spending money on it. I mean, one of the things that's really horrible is the seat is like in 3 pieces. It's beginning to be a safety factor.
Delightful.
I mean, it's a 99. It's been used.
Okay. All right. I don't think we need to talk about that anymore.
Okay.
All right, we'll let, curious to see what FinCom has to say about that. Okay, Article 9,
9 is the article that puts the CPA funds into the different buckets,
okay. 10,
is the marijuana referendum.
okay. 11,
11 is a tricky article that people are here to speak to.
okay.
Representing the Water Commission, just want to take you back to the origin of this. Is, as you know, our, what was his technical title?
Water operator, certified water
Our certified water operator, Tim Watson, abruptly quit without notice in June. Matter of fact, he told you before he told us. We needed to replace him quickly. Fortunately, we had been looking into his request for a raise, and in the course of trying to actually make him a town employee, which he was not, although getting a salary, nor was he in our personnel things. And when we began inquiring, he abruptly quit. We were able to find the one company available to do that. However, that would mean we'd be paying this company $80 an hour to read the meters. And we had several more meter readings to do. And it made sense to the three commissioners to ask Dan if he wanted to read the meters and get the bills out. And he agreed. And he said, basically, if we gave him 1 more hour a week, that would help. Now, in going from Mr. Watson to Whitewater, we saved approximately $3,800 a year, if I'm not mistaken. And what we wanted to do is transfer some of that savings to fund Dan and then bring it up at this point that we were doing that. So we were not trying to do an end run. We were trying to get the bills read, the meters read. We're still trying to solve some problems where we don't want to pay $80 an hour to Whitewater for other things. But we figured it was the easiest way to do it. Dan was willing to do it. And what this would do, he has not taken the pay yet. And what this would do is transfer some of that savings to his salary line item, and then we were going to come back to you in the spring budget cycle and revisit this for an official, do we up him an hour, or, but we just wanted to solve the problem for this year, because the alternative is we pay somebody $80 an hour to read the meters, which did not make financial sense to us.
Kim, did you run the math on this?
No, but I'm not conceptually opposed to it.
Yeah.
Town-wise, we are opposed to it because it doesn't actually fall within his current job description, and we can't make him do anything that's outside of his job description. It does say other duties as required. I mean, I could make it be required, but
This is in the water clerk description, correct?
no, because we absorbed the functions of the water clerk into his parks director job. So
See, I was not aware of that, nor were the other board members.
we did that in December, January.
I mean, I suppose technically it's just 2 job descriptions, just
Right, so we merged the two together in order to increase the number of hours within the Parks and Recreation Director, because it was just simpler to have one employee. But if we are going to be adding additional duties specific to water, it makes sense to examine whether or not we need a position just for water, which is, it could be Dan, it could be some other person. I don't know that we're up to 10 hours, but.
No, right now we have 5 hours a week, and we were going to 6 with this.
Right, so I get it from a cost-saving standpoint. My concern is actually about my ability to expand the role of Parks Director if I keep filling, no pun intended, filling it with water.
Yeah, and part of the issue is we,
That's-
on the board, had no idea. We still thought there was a separate 5-hour position, like Leah held, called water clerk.
Well, so somebody, I mean, the job is essentially doing the billings and now doing the readings. I mean, it might make sense, but we would have to bargain it out now that it's in.
if I might, to as we continue to improve
the responsibilities of that are gonna go down once the meters are replaced, once we've streamlined. I mean, there's kind of a lot of things that are.
Well,
need to get
I'm
fixed.
almost more comfortable with the idea of it coming back out of parks and you doing it separately as the other job again. If there's gonna be more, like, you're gonna have to get certifications and things very specific to doing this thing.
All,
I would
all
imagine.
reading the meters is driving to 153 houses, getting out, reading a dial on the side of the house.
And then he'd also
It's just
do
labor
the-
intensive.
He'd also do the final readings when a house is sold, which, there's two other things we haven't solved yet, but we haven't been able to have a majority of the board meet until this week. We're meeting Friday, where we're gonna go over the other issues that resulted from Tim quitting. But this one just made sense to get he did the last quarter's bills, and he has the next quarter bills to get out. It just made sense to us to, he was willing to take it on, and it just made sense to us. And from a cost perspective, we didn't know we were opening up a can of worms for Kim, or we would have come to you. We had actually gone to Tanya over the issue of trying to blame Tim as an employee when he walked off. So from our perspective, we were just asking for transfer from water where there's going to be
Right.
a
But I
surplus.
can't actually make him do it.
Yeah, so listen, for me personally, Mark, where I'm at with this is, there's a lot of logistics on this, and there's a lot of moving pieces that I have to figure out. You know, and when I was asking about the math, because obviously there's an implication when it comes to salaries and benefits and everything else as well, or potentially impacts to that. We're increasing hours now, there's all kinds of
Well,
stuff.
I think the issue is, I can't actually make him do the job unless I actually
understand that.
bargain it. So,
Right.
as my perspective is, he can do the job, but they're gonna have to pay him separately to do it until we make some sort of actual adjustment to his job description that recognizes this, and that's a bargainable thing we have to do.
Can I ask, isn't part of this temporary that the actual physical reading of the meters, getting out and reading the dials, wasn't as you said, the reason to change the meters is because they can all be done electronically, right?
On the ones that have been changed, he can drive right
Right, but
by and read it.
eventually-
In fact, the board members can do it. The problem is, right now, when Tim quit, we were three-quarters through the progression. That's the part we're trying to solve, because we also don't want to pay Whitewater $200 to change a meter. We want to get somebody who can do it at the,
All I'm getting at is that this whole discussion is temporary, because once the meters are all changed, then those hours should drop back down again.
So my recommendation is that the water board write up a separate contract with him individually to pay him.
out of the original account.
That's correct.
But we still need to,
You won't need to transfer it.
Okay.
And if this is such a small amount that we could transfer it later at the end of the year with just a
Okay.
basic transfer. That would be, we are about to go into negotiations in January with all of the unions,
Well-
and we could talk about it then, but I would just pay him,
Okay. I think
agree
That
to a
may be
rate,
problematic, though, is the one issue.
because,
Because I'm an employee with a salary, I don't think I can get paid for two jobs. I think there's an ethics problem there.
oh, no, it's not gonna be, no, there's not. You can have two jobs.
Okay.
But they're a completely separate entity, and they can pay you, you can have a separate job as long as that's your purview, to when you do it and how you get paid for that job, you negotiate a separate contract with them, and you get paid.
that's fine. In
Yes.
reality, when you had the deadline come up, we hadn't yet completed our board
I think
discussions.
that's the best
So we just put it on.
temporary solution,
Right.
and then we'll worry about the actual, because based on this, I mean, I'm not trying to decrease Dan's hours. I would rather start expanding things in the direction of parks. And so I want germinating on that, based upon the success of the things that you guys have been doing this past year. I don't want to limit the town's ability in order to expand on some of that momentum with him heading that up, so that's,
Absolutely, and as long as the issue is taken care of, we're fine with it.
okay.
And we're having a meeting Friday night. We're back where everybody's in town, so we can actually have a quorum.
Right.
And we will have the meter issue settled hopefully by November. So we'll also have those being restored, being installed and finished at a reasonable rate rather than $200 a meter. Because again, when Tim left, we were left hanging on a lot of issues. where-
Well, we'll see how shrewd a negotiator Dan is.
Oh, okay. All right, we're gonna move off of this. Thank you.
Do you want me to stay up here for the two assessors ones while I'm here? or-
Well, we got a couple to go first. We'll be quick, though.
All right.
Article 12 is about putting language on to talk about when we repealed, we said we were going to come back with a bylaw that mirrored the strong chiefs, police chief. That's what that is. Article 13 and Article 14 are partners. The language is very vague because I just wrote it today. Essentially, what we need to do is transfer money back into a CPA account, and then find a source of funding and transfer it into engineering highway. And the short story goes that money that was used to pay for the engineering for the downtown project for the sidewalks in the historic district was not actually an eligible use of CPA funds. And so we need to now find a separate funding source to pay for the engineering work that we've already half completed. That's all I am saying there. Moving on. Now, assessors, go ahead.
We had actually voted as a board that we wanted 2/3 of us here to discuss this particular article, and I don't feel comfortable without another member here, other than to say it's needed and we can explain in detail why to the FinCom and you guys. We're on your agenda for the 16th. And it's not that I don't want to talk about it, it's we took a vote as a board that we wanted the board as a whole, or at least 2/3. And I don't feel comfortable without the chairman here doing that.
That's fine.
The next one is, I'm sorry, next one's not me.
Yeah, actually, I don't know. I think this one's done. Yeah, it's good, because I was like, I
I was wondering why you were hanging out.
vaguely remembered you saying this, what we
Just
should
an
do with it,
interested
and then
party?
we agreed that we should just move it over, but.
So Article 16, essentially, there's a $22.98 left over from the building purchase account, not renovation. When we purchased the church from the Diocese of Worcester, there was that amount left in the purchase. So what we need to agree on is a change of use. So we can't use those funds for renovation unless the special town meeting approves a change of use from purchase to renovation, and then you can use it for any renovation. We figured the police station made sense.
So is
Or
it-
any other renovation
So is it
project.
just transferring the money, or is it approving on a change of use for the money?
Well,
Is
it's a
this-
change
is
of
this-
use first, and then you can transfer it out of the
So
purchase
is this
account.
the correct language? No.
Actually, I have all the language. I sent it to Laura.
Maybe she was
I sent it
just-
to Laura. It came from Linda Hawks, had put this together last fall, and we just didn't get it in time for last fall's
Okay.
special. It's really just,
Renovation.
because it was only approved for purchase, it can't be used for renovation, so it's technicality.
Got it.
Okay?
You can apply it to Alan's roof. That's what I
I
call
have
it.
a roof over here that needs repairs too, $115,000
It doesn't have to
It
go to
doesn't
the police
matter.
station.
That's a
Again,
library.
we didn't say where it was
I know,
going.
I'm
You-
just teasing. Thank you, Don.
All right.
All right.
Go
And
ahead, Kevin.
Okay, the last one is, we have a sum of money that's been sitting, I'm not sure it's the update valuation account, it's actually, my understanding is we had money left over from, Tom Hackinson's last year on the board in his salary account. I'm not sure this is the right wording. And we needed to buy 2 new pieces of equipment, and we just wanted to transfer it to buy it from one account to the other.
Okay.
Basically, we have a digital camera that we use to take pictures of all new construction. When I came on the board 2 years ago, the camera in use was 15 years old and barely working. I bought one and donated it, and unfortunately, that got dropped this year and broke. And I said, well, I donated one, I'm not doing another one. And there's also a new laser measurer we want to get that works with that camera. And so to us, it's just a transfer between accounts that we have, no new money.
I'm curious about the actual accounts. The accounts that are on there listed are totally fine, but an old salary account.
You know, if
wouldn't make-
that's
wouldn't
what
make sense.
Gene wrote, if that's what
Yeah,
Gene
right.
wrote, that's where it is.
Okay, yeah, that's what because it would already be gone and rolled over into
No, it's
free
whatever
cash. and
whatever
it would
Gene
be-
wrote is where it's
It'd
coming
be
from.
history, okay.
Maybe my
So
recollection.
you're saying this is a camera
It's a digital camera and it's a laser level that work together.
level?
And it's not a laser level, it's a laser
Not
measuring
measure.
tool. And actually, it makes it easier to measure the properties.
Any idea on price?
It's about between $800 and $1,000.
All right,
Depends on where online you buy it
that's
from.
fine. Okay,
It's also drop-proof, so if you drop it, it won't break, unlike the last one.
We'll see.
No, the last one was your $199 Nikon Coolpix, and it dropped on a construction site. This one actually is in an industrial
funny.
box.
Cool. Okay, moving on.
last one, Article 18, this is a placeholder for an anticipated award from the JLMC for our fire contract arbitration. As you know, the fire department has been negotiating NI since 2015, so they are due some pay for all their hard work, and so we will have a number to put on here for public vote for November 21st.
Very good.
That's it on the warrant.
Thank you.
18, gonna be less, gonna be 15, gonna be,
We can do one piece of paper.
that's the plan,
Good.
one really long piece of paper.
Okay, other topics not reasonably anticipated within 48 hours prior to the meeting? None?
None.
Perfect. All right, executive session, purpose 3 for executive session, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy in respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have detrimental effects on bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and the chair so declares. And then there's executive session, purpose 3 for executive session, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategies with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have detrimental effect on bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and chair so declares. So I move to enter into an executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, for two unrelated purposes. The first purpose under Chapter 3 for executive session, Mass General, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy for respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Litigation update. And then the second is pretty much the same thing. The second is under purpose 3 for executive session, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have detrimental effect on bargaining or litigation position. The public body and the chair so declares. Roll call is needed.
Second.
Burke, aye.
Real aye.
Spreadsheet,
Thank you.
the week.